This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by DansInkandToner.com. Ink and toner and a whole lot more. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. Well, I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and flying higher than the last shuttle launch from NASA, it's the three wise men and Jesus. We have Captain Colonel Sanders, co-pilot Dwight Schrute, exhaust engineer, I have no idea if that's position, little Whitey, and of course, taking the wheel and propelling the rockets, it's Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Wow, the most awkward intro ever. But anyway, this week we're going to finish out our series on basic compositing, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff that's going on, and one prayer's coming back as well as some other stuff. And maybe we'll talk about a camera that's going to blow your mind away and make me kind of mad that I bought a camera a year ago. So anyway, if the three wise men and Jesus are done flying with NASA because the program is over, let's get into it. Well, I got a little news for you this week, and it comes from our friends over at LifeChurch.tv. They're always up to something new. Last week we talked about church metrics, we've talked about the Bible app and YouVersion and all these different things. Well, LifeChurch.tv also started this initiative last year called One Prayer. And this initiative was to bring churches together to answer this question: what if we could be the answer to Jesus' prayer for his church to become one? And that's out of John 17:20-24. And in 2008, they had over 1,800 churches that came together during this time to try come up with what that answer is and to pray that prayer together. And this year they're doing it again, and they're hoping to have even more churches involved. And they even want to have some creative people to participate in coming up with some of the planning and the programmatic things that churches can do. But basically, they give you a lot of the bigger megachurch pastors will do taped sermons that you can play at your church for a teaching time, as well as, like, I know at the church that I worked at, we did like more of a local one prayer where we did it with two other sister churches of ours, and we did a one prayer as our little community. So I would encourage you guys to head over to oneprayer.com. They have all the notes here on their page about what's going on, as well as you can see what's been going on in the past year, but in sign up. You can save the date for June 2009. And if you want some more information, you can always head over to swerve.lifechurch.tv, which is the church's blog for Life Church TV. So that's some cool stuff that's going on there. Well, besides the church world and that kind of bigger announcement that affects you guys, the other thing that will affect you is the fact that I kind of feel like I wasted a little bit of money. Kind of. Because Red, which makes the Red 1 camera, which was this crazy low-priced, it was an $18,500 camera that shot in 4K, 4,000 pixels, double the resolution of high-definition video. This thing could shoot cinema quality stuff. This camera came out a couple years ago, and it's just kind of blown the industry away. These guys said, we can make this camera better than what you guys think you can make it, and we're going to do it cheaper, and we're going to start from the ground up and just build a brand new image processor, the whole 9 yards. Well, last year at the NAB, National Association of Broadcasters Convention, they talked about Scarlett and Epic, which were two new cameras, and they talked about Scarlett was going to be this 3K camera for $3,000. So 3,000 pixels for $3,000. Now, I shoot on a under 2K camera. It shoots, sorry about that noise. I shoot on an under 2K camera that is, it's my HVX 200, and shoots 1920 by 1080. Yes, 1920 by 1080. I'm drawing a blank right now. Anyway, so so my camera's, a good 1,000 pixels less, and it was a couple $1,000s more. It was around $5,000 to $6,000 from the entire setup. Well, the Scarlett was gonna blow that out of the water. Well, all of a sudden their webpage was like, yeah, sorry, that's not gonna happen. You need to come back later and we'll let you know, but we're changing the whole game and just redoing it all. Well, they came out finally with the specs for what they redid. And what they're doing is combining the world of still photo photography and motion cameras. And so you can see here they have some crazy images, and they call this a, where is it at? They call this a DSMC system, which is a digital stills and motion camera. So you can do digital stills as well as motion. And the interesting thing is they have brains for their cameras. So you start with a brain here, and you can see that there's basically two different brains. They have the red Epic brain and the Scarlet Professional brain. And these all shoot at different sizes. So the Scarlet, you can shoot 3K, 5K, and 6K. And the Epic, you can shoot 5, 6, 9, and 28K. Now, just to wrap your head around that a second, the Scarlet can shoot up to 6K, and one of the 3Ks can shoot up to 120 frames per second. So that's a super slow-mo camera, which is super awesome. This camera can shoot at 60 frames per second, so it's double the frame rate of the camera that I'm currently using. And as you go up, like the 5 and 9K Epics only can shoot up to 100 frames per second. But then you have the 28K, which shoots anywhere from 1 to 25 frames per second. And this is a 28, I wonder where they don't have it listed there. But basically, I read on another post that 28K is 2.5 times the size of IMAX footage. It's just ginormous. So it's kind of ridiculous. That brain costs $55,000, but you have to add in so much other stuff to get that thing running. So you're looking at a good couple $100,000 to get that camera off the ground and running. So check out red.com/epic_scarlet, and you will find out all their information. And then at the bottom, they just have this little thing. Oh, by the way, 3D. And it's a camera with 2 lenses, and apparently shoots in 3D. So check out Red's website. It's pretty ridiculous. Also, if you go to fxguide.com and look in their articles, you'll see an article that's an interview with Red, and actually the guys at Red, the guys from FX Guide are good friends and do a Red podcast, and they do a lot of stuff with the Red, and so they got a upfront interview that goes into the background of what they're trying to do with these cameras and what their purpose is for. So check out One Prayer and the Red camera, and get jealous because most of us can't afford it. Well, this week we're going to finish up our series on basic compositing, and as you can see here, we have our footage yet again, and remember, we made this composition that we can now put onto the computer screen, and we did some different coloring, and we put a little highlight on the screen and did a drop shadow around the edges, as well as we put whatever we wanted. I'm going to go back to our little National Bank that I photoshopped the National City website so it didn't look like National City anymore, and got rid of some of their stuff on it so we didn't break any rules there, which I'm probably still breaking some rules. But anyway, so we got our little National Bank here, and the thing that I talked about before is, okay, what do we do when he starts putting his hands up like this? I mean, his hands are definitely underneath that footage. Like, it looks pretty real as long as his fingers don't move. So how do we fix that? Now, the first thing that you could think of is, well, we should mask it out. We should take it and we should, draw lines around his fingers, but now you have to do that at the frame rate for the entire time you want that on the screen. And this over-the-shoulder shot that I did wasn't that long, but it was not short by any means, and it would take a long time to frame by frame go and mess with that animation. So what we're going to actually do is take advantage of the fact that we left the monitor off, and take advantage of the fact that this MacBook has a nice shiny outside to it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a black and white Luma matte to use to mask out that screen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this footage, and I'm just going to do layer and then down to pre-composition. We're going to just call this Luma comp. And we can leave attributes, that doesn't really matter, and open the new composition. Okay, so now we're in our new composition. So what we want to do is we want to have the screen be black and have everything else around it be white. So his hands need to be white, the computer needs to be white, the whole 9 yards. So our first step is we're going to go to our effects, we're going to go down to color correction, and then we're going to go to hue and saturation. We're just going to take the saturation and pull it all the way out. So now our image has no color in it, and so now we're working with pure black and white. Next, we need to start messing with the color to get this to look right. So again, we're going to go up to Effect, down to Color Correction, and we're going to grab Curves. Now, I don't have a very good explanation of curves. It's like levels, but in a whole different way. And I haven't been a big curves user. I was taught levels when I started using Photoshop. And so curves is a little bit newer thing to me, but it works well in this situation. So this is a curve, our overall curves for our RGB, and we can just kind of grab and darken or brighten up different parts of this. So we can mess around, and what I'm going to do is start trying to blow out some of the color in here. So I'm just going to, let me reset this real quick, and then let's start just messing around in here. So you can see I'm starting to get some really bright colors around the edge here. And I'm not going to worry about the carpet so much. I just want to worry about the screen here and his fingers. And I'm going to move to a place where his fingers are pretty much up on the screen. So we got, you know, both hands there. You can see we got a little shadow down here in the corner and at the top. So we don't want to quite go that crazy. But we do want to make sure we're blowing out the edges pretty good. So we'll just keep messing around, and if we wanted to, we could go in here and we could do another color correction. We could do a levels color correction, and we could blow out the whites after we've kind of crunched down some of those areas together. So it's looking pretty good, and you know, we have some dark spots in here, but as long as those dark areas are a little bit more on the gray side of things, they'll show a semi-transparent version of our screen. So now what we need to do is we need to go in and actually get rid of all the extra crap. So I'm going to create a new solid. I'm just right clicking and doing new solid. I don't like going up to menus because it's a waste of time. So we're just going to do that. We'll just call this white and hit OK. And we'll make sure that's on the top. And then we're going to just draw out a mask, and we'll just draw a quick 4-point mask. And then we're going to do M for our mask properties, and instead of add, we're going to switch it to subtract. So now we're going to grab the points of our mask, and let me change the color of this for us so we can see it a little better. There, purple, that's awesome. So we're going to just grab the corners of this, and we're just going to put it right outside of the viewing area of this screen. And this will help so we don't have to worry about all that other stuff. This is kind of called a junk mat a lot of times. It's just getting rid of a lot of the garbage. So now you can see we have a screen here that has just, and this is really quick, and you can see that at the end here, where does he bring his hands up over the screen? Where is that at? Where is that at? Right here. So he's bringing his hands up. And you can see we got some semi-transparent. Maybe we want to mess around with our curves just a little bit more and get that set the way we want it to be. So we're just kind of messing around, and I'm just playing with it until it looks the way I want it to look. There's no science behind this. There's no way this curve is supposed to look perfect. This is just how I'm doing it to make it look right. So now we're going to go back to our master composition, and as you can see here, we have our Luma mat. And now we're going to move that above our basic comp, and we're going to make this a track matte of our Luma comp. And we're going to say Luma matte. And actually, we want to do Luma matte inverted. And so as you can see now, where white is on the screen, it shows through our computer. We'll actually turn our brightness all the way up there, because we don't quite, it doesn't look like we have quite full bright white. So we're going to go back to our Luma comp. Actually, we don't have full black. So I'm just going to chop down in my levels here. I'm going to crunch down my blacks a little bit and then go back to my master. And you can see it's a lot brighter. And you can just mess around with this a little bit. As you can see, some things aren't. Let's actually do this. We're going to switch these. So we'll real quickly redo this. So we're going to just reset this. We're going to turn up our levels until they are nice and blown out, and now we'll reset our curves, turn our curves on, And now we'll mess with our curves until we get the desired effect. Okay, so now we're back the way we want to be, and as you can see still on this master, we still have a little funny going on. This monitor I'm working with has the worst blacks in the world, so I have a really hard time telling if my blacks are blown out correctly or not. So I'm just gonna mess with them until they're all crunched up nice. Okay, so there we go. Get a good monitor, people. It's very important. So now you can see here we have our video going on, and as you can see, because my monitor sucks a lot, my edge here is pretty, I can't view my edge very cleanly here, and I'm chopping this a little bit too tight. We don't have quite a fine edge like we would want it to be, so we maybe want to mess and give a little bit more, maybe not brighten up those whites so much. So like I said before, this is all, you just need to mess around with this and you'll get something that looks nice. But one thing that you'll see here, so we've just saved ourselves a whole bunch of time. And like I said, I mean, we've done this in just a matter of minutes. But what you start seeing is we have kind of a junky edge here. And so what we want to do is we want to make that edge a little bit smoother for our needs. So the easiest way to do that is to, well, we need to do this a different way because we need to expand or contract that area. Now, usually you would use like a matte choker, and you can, with a matte choker, if you have like a key of somebody, you can choke the key by expanding or contracting the alpha on an image. So that would work, but unfortunately this has no alpha. So what we're going to do is we're going to select these two layers, we're going to go to layer, and we're going to do pre-compose. It's all going to make sense in a second here. So we'll not name this properly in, whoops, yes. So we're in pre-comp 1 now. We can go back to our Luma comp, and now I'm actually going to apply a simple trick that I learned from Andrew Kramer the other day. So we're going to do a new solid, we're going to make it black, and we're going to hit OK, and we're going to put that on the bottom. Then I'm going to make sure my transparent pixels is turned on, and I'm going to go to my pre-comp, and I'm going to set it to Silhouette Luma. And now, as you can see, we have transparency here, and we can now mess with that transparency inside our master composition. So our comp hasn't changed here. Well, it's changed a little bit, but we can fix that. So let's fix our, and we'll do a alpha matte instead of a Luma matte now, because now we're working with alpha instead of Luma since there's only black on the screen. But now we can take this Luma comp, even though the eyeball is turned off, we can still apply effects to it because it's being used as a track matte. And we can go down, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little blur and sharpen. I'm just going to do a fast blur. And I'm going to do like a 1 pixel blur on the edges. And as you can see, that helped blur up those edges a little bit. Now, if we look at our comp here, as we move forward, we'll find a couple points in here where that's a little too black. You can see the computer screen behind it a little too much. So now I'm going to apply a, if you go down to matte and go to matte choker, oops, not matte choker. If you go down to matte and go down to simple choker, we're going to just do a -1 pixel simple choker. And as you can see, that kind of chokes up, and we get a little weird stuff in there, but you're not going to notice that for how fast his hands are moving up on the screen. Now you might notice that, and that is a, you just need to work on your levels and your curves a little bit more to finish that up. But what this allows us to do is the simple choker allows us to choke up those values so that it hugs around our fingers a little bit better. So as you can see here, if we would take this, we could go positive, and it's actually going to choke around and make that alpha area smaller. But if I go into the negative values, it's actually going to hug it around my fingers a little bit more. And maybe we want to switch the order of that. So we want to do -1 pixel first and then do our blur, so that as we're coming in, it's fading it in slowly instead of doing it hard. So the order sometimes does matter on these different effects. But as you can see, we start to get something that looks really nice. And if we would RAM preview this, we'll just do that real quick. So now as you can see in our little RAM preview here, his fingers are totally on top of the screen, and if we would mess around with our levels and curves, we could make those blacks a little bit better and mess with the colors to get our transparency good. Now, a couple things that you can do at some points, I actually had to go in and take a white solid and mask it out a little bit and just animate it going up and down at a couple points that it just didn't work to do this without that. But overall, we can even look at our hands going up here. So where's that at? Right there. I'll preview that for you real quick so you can kind of get a taste of what that looks like. And I'm just doing Shift 0 on your number pad, which previews every other frame. So as you can see, as his hands go up, you can see a little bit too much black there at the end, but we could mess around yet again with our curves and our levels to make that look a lot better. So the things to remember here is you don't always have to just mask. You can use other things like a track matte, which you can use the luminance or the alpha values to knock out or mask out a layer. And so those things come in very handy when you've shot smartly by not having the computer screen on. It's totally black, so you can work with those black values and work with your shiny little MacBook Pro computer screen to get a nice looking matte. So those are a couple little tips, and that's some basic compositing for you. By no means do I think this looks amazing. Yet again, I did this in a few hours. This isn't meant to be something that takes you forever. This is meant to be something you can do quick and will look nice, but won't take you too much time. So if you have any questions about this technique or something that you maybe are unsure of that I've covered today, make sure to email me, Brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv, and I will answer any of the questions that you have for these techniques. But just remember to mess around with these effects and mess around with like, well, I know this does this and this does this. Well, what if you combine them together? You'll get a whole new slew of effects. So there's a little basic compositing for you. Well, this week's inspiration comes from Smashing Magazine, or via Smashing Magazine, our favorite digital design magazine. And they just posted 50 beautiful examples of tilt-shift photography. Now, if you're not familiar with tilt-shift photography, I'll show you the first example here, or the first two. And what you're looking at right now is real photographs that look like miniatures. And I was actually showing Adam this before the show, and he hadn't seen it before either. And everybody I show it to, and when I looked at it the first time, it's so intriguing because the photos look so much like you're looking at Mr. Rogers and the little trains and the little miniatures on that show, but they're real photos, and they're just messing with the depth of field just enough to make it feel like it's not real, to make it feel like it's this fake scene. And so they have a lot of great different tilt shift photos in here. One of my favorites is there's a street scene down here that, like, I mean, really, really looks fake. It just, I can't imagine that it's real. And like some of these towns, and it's really interesting if you start to study it, it's so weird how the landscape starts to look like it has less detail, and it's just an interesting way of doing it. And actually, down at the bottom, there are, in this post, there are a bunch of, let me find them here for you. So here's a couple examples of video, and this is actually time-lapse tilt shift from Sydney Harbor, and it looks like little tiny fake boats sitting in the water, and you can see this guy laying out by his pool. It's pretty funny. So it's a pretty amazing technique, and there's some tutorials online how to fake this. But I just wanted to show you guys this because it takes something that we see every day, and these photos wouldn't be that amazing if they didn't have this weird depth of field to it. And just because somebody tweaked the photo just enough, it made it feel like it's this totally weird style of photograph. So I would encourage you to check out tilt shift photography just to get some inspiration on how could we in the church use tilt shift to do some cool mini movies, or I don't know what it would have use for, but I'm sure we could do some cool stuff with it. So check out smashingmagazine.com and their article on tilt shift. Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Well, at least in Michigan it is. And we got another freebie for you. And this is another one of those ambient loops or abstract or whatever you want to call them. And this is a ice sculpture that I filmed last year. We have a little ice sculpture competition in town that I went and filmed. So this is a free loop for you, and it will be in full screen 800 by 600 as well as widescreen 1024 by, oh, not 1024. 1280 by 720, 720p HD. So you can check those out on the website, and I'll actually be talking more in the future about how I compress these files, so you can look forward to that in another upcoming episode. But make sure to head over to the website and get that freebie. Well, we wanted to say thank you to our sponsor of dan'sinnkandtoner.com, Ink and Toner, and a whole lot more. You can head over to his website, dan'sinnkandtoner.com, and check out the wholesale program. And if you sign up for the wholesale program with the promo of Church Media Design, you'll get all of your ink and toner at cost. And you'll get a risk-free trial for 3 months, not 30 days, 3-month risk-free trial of the program, where you'll get basically next day delivery and at-cost toner. Now, what this means is this printer I got sitting next to me off camera here is a HP that we usually got the toner from Staples, and it was, you know, $120 for this toner. And we got that same cartridge from Dan. It's a compatible cartridge, and we got it for, I think, like $56, something, $58, something like that. We saved like $70 on this cartridge. And it's a high yield cartridge, so it actually prints out more pages than the one that was more than double the price from Staples. So, or maybe it was $70. I don't know. It was a really, really good deal that we got from them. Don't quote me on the prices there. But I know that you're going to basically pay half of what you're normally paying at a big box store for your ink and toner. So I want to encourage you guys to check out the site. You can click on the sign up button and click to sign up for the program. It's a great thing for us at the show. If you sign up using that promo code, that really, really helps us out. Adam especially puts in a lot of time editing this show every week and preparing the show. I work another job, and we do the show basically for free. But every time you guys sign up with Dan's Ink and Toner, it really helps us out, and it's really going to help you guys out as well. We usually don't have money in the church, and why waste money when you don't need to? I would much rather save $70 and be able to go buy a new microphone than have to spend extra on ink that I don't really care about for inner office documents that don't ever get seen by anybody else except for me and the pastor. So if you guys want to go over and sign up, make sure to use that promo code and at least check it out, guys. You can try it for 3 months. If it doesn't work for you, you pay each transaction. You don't have to pay up front or anything like that. So I really want to encourage you guys to sign up and check it out. It's really going to benefit you guys. So check out dan'sinnkandtoner.com and sign up for the wholesale program with the promo code of Church Media Design. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Church Media Design TV. Hopefully you guys learned something this week, as well as got something free from the free wintry loop that we gave earlier. If you want to stay in contact with us, there's a million different ways, and one of my favorite ways is Twitter. I'm actually running Twitter Fox over here, and I'm going to say, hello, I am taping credits live right now. Woohoo! And so anyway, that just went out on Twitter. If you go look for it, it's there. So if you stay in touch via Twitter, I'm CMD.tv and Adam is Adam CMD.tv, and you can find out what we're doing the entire time we're taping the show. And it's a great way to stay in contact. I actually post on days when I'm doing research and ask questions to all my followers, and I got a lot of great feedback. Here's a quick couple people. Fire Noises, The Smart Guy, Dane Daniels, Andre Bob, Timmy Boy with about 1 million M's, C.H. Schroeder, and Hal Swift, of course, Hal Swift, who's been a great fan of the show and a great help in many ways. So thank you to all of the followers on Twitter, and especially those guys who gave some great responses to what they wanted me to cover in next week's episode. So I wanted to say thank you to you guys. So follow me up on Twitter. It's twitter.com/CMDTV and AdamCMDTV. Also, you can send an email, brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv, or leave a comment on the website. I would love for you guys to leave comments on the website, especially when new people come to check out the show, because I know you guys are in contact with me, but it looks a whole lot more like you guys are in contact with me when you leave comments on the site. So make sure to leave comments there. And one bit of sad news is we've been doing the green screen contest now for about a month and a half, 2 months now, and we haven't gotten any submissions, so the green screen contest is canceled. We'll do another contest in the new year that hopefully will be a little easier. I know I got some feedback of I'm too busy, I wish I could, but I don't have time. So maybe we'll give away a green screen again in the future, but just make it a little bit easier for you guys to enter. So if you guys have any suggestions on a contest, you guys can send those in, or if you really want to do the green screen contest, get in contact with me this week and let me know, and maybe we'll bring the green screen contest back. But as of right now, it's canceled. So as for me and 3 wise men and Jesus, we're saying, see you later.